So let's go over this again. We are doing part B, and part B says we have to find what is hg of x. Now, just like part A, we have to start on the right. Always start from the right. Bear that in mind. Look at the steps again. Always go back to the step. Composite functions. Placing a function into another function. Start from the right to identify the domain function. Place the domain function in brackets. This is very, very important. Brackets is very crucial when you are composing functions, okay? In the x place, so you have to remove x and replace it with brackets, okay? In the range function, which is on the left. So you're going to clear brackets after and then simplify, okay? So the first thing you do is identify the domain function, which is on the right. For part A, it was h of 2. We got 1, and then we put 1 into g. Here it is, we get -4. But for part B, is g of x we've seen. It's not g of 9, neither g of 3, it's g of x. So we just have to write down g of x, simple as that. Simple as that. Just write down g of x, 3x minus 7. But what is missing? Can anybody tell me what is missing? Can anybody tell me what is missing? Starting with B. Brackets. Brackets. Please don't forget the brackets. Don't forget the brackets. Okay? Don't forget the brackets. Here it is. We left it out. Don't forget the brackets. Okay? Very important. Next step. Place it into the range. Which function is the range? Here. B we're doing B. Which function is the range? Which function? H is the range function. The one on the left one is H. Look at there. H is the range function. 5x minus 6 over 2x. The range function. H of x is equal to okay, that's the numerator and the denominator. Yes. And why is that so? Why did we call it the range function? Exactly. Exactly. The range function is always on the left. When you're composing, whenever you are composing function, the range function is always on the left. Now, I have identified, say that again. Composing, here it is. Composing means basically in a nutshell, placing an entire function into another. Simple as that. In a nutshell, composing function means to place a function into another function. You find a function of a function, okay? So in other words, you are finding a function of a function. So in the words, comma, you are finding, okay? You are finding a what? You are finding a function of a function. That's what you are finding. Function of a function. So that's why you have the domain function and the range function, because you have to put the domain into the range. You understand? Okay, so we have identifying the domain function. Let's put the steps. Domain function, first step. Okay, so here's a domain function. And here's the range function. Okay. Here's the range function. But there's something wrong with my range function. Not something wrong, no, but there's something I didn't do. Can anybody identify what I didn't do for the range function? I'm missing brackets. So tell me what modification I have to do. Yes. Say that again. If our range, he's asking for our range function for A. What is our range function? We never use, I never said we use H for our range function, never. Our range function is G. H is our domain and G is our range. So if you heard that, if I see H our range, then that must be a mishap. G, that's our range function. It's always on the left. Okay. The range function is always on the left. So what we have to do now, we have to use brackets. We have to create brackets. When we write down the range function, they're not supposed to be any x's. All x's have to be converted to brackets. So remember that. All x is converted to brackets. And why is that so? Anybody? What am I to do? Exactly. So as he's saying, we created the brackets in order for us to put 3x minus 7 into the brackets. Okay. So I repeat, we created brackets in order for us to put the domain function, which is 3x minus 7. We're going to put 3x minus 7 all where we have brackets. We have two sets of brackets, so we have to put 3x minus 7 two places. One in this bracket and one in this bracket here. Okay. Exactly, that's in the bracket of the range. So here we have to put, always for the range, we have to put the brackets, basically. Well said. All right. It's always for the range, we have to put the brackets. Okay. Create the brackets for us to put something into it. So don't you see a function going into a function? All right. G is going into H. You see where G is? G is going into H. Here is G. 3x minus 7 is going into H. A function into a function. And then your next step now is to, yes. The HGS.